reactionary thing. So whenever a pet dies and the owner wasn't expecting that, they become very agitated and may sometimes try to blame me. Recent painting work that has been done around the house, all these chemicals that get leached into the air can become very toxic to pets. Sometimes can cause vomiting, diarrhea, or even can lead to sometimes toxicity and liver issues, kidney issues. Because especially any problem a dog or a cat or any animal faces is ultimately because of humans' endeavor. So there are more and more youngsters coming into the field as of now.
Milk and chocolate, poisonous foods, myth or fact?
Vaccination is very important to keep infectious diseases away from your pet's health.
Can pets be veg?
In general, yes, they can. So there's a myth that uh, pets are colorblind or they can only see gray or black and white.
Why do street dogs attack? You'd be jealous. Today's guest understands your pet cat that you like to flex on your story highlights better than you do. Even if you don't own one, I'm sure you've grown up watching Tom and Jerry and Scooby Doo. We have a second generation veterinary doctor today on the Random Facts with Sanjeeth Rodrigues. Welcome.
Hi, Sanjeeth.
Is it true that pets mirror the owner's behavior?
Oh, yes, all the time. So, how the household is, whether it's very bright and loving, pets become very happy and they become very lovely pets. But again, if the household is very quarrelsome and very full of stress, pets reflect that and become very agitated or aggressive or depressed. Even the energy wise, if the pet owner is very full of energy and full of health, pet is also healthy. And sometimes if the pet owner is feeling very low in the mood or even not very healthy, sometimes they draw those energies also. So they do mirror all the time.
Strangest pets that you've encountered?
I've had iguana recently, a few months back. Iguana is like a monitor lizard that someone had brought me. A few pythons, hamsters, turtles, monkey, a rescued monkey from the street which had fallen off from a electric pole. These are some weirdest pets I can think of in recent times.
Do pet owners blame you for a loss?
Sometimes they do. More often, it's more of a reactionary thing. So whenever a pet dies and the owner wasn't expecting that, they become very agitated and may sometimes try to blame me or a veterinarian. So many of the times I don't react immediately because I know it's coming from a very immediate reactionary thing. So many of the times when I explain to them why the pet had gone through all these things, why it had to gone through and why it had to die or succumb ultimately, they most often they understand eventually, if not immediately. So we have to give them that time so that that reactionary phase fades away. And I've had many experiences like that, but in most of the cases they eventually they try to understand, if, especially if they see that I was trying only to save their pet and what I was doing was in the best interest of the pet's health.
Everyday items that are hazardous to pets.
So there are many household things that we sometimes think are safe for us and safe for pets, but many of them are not. For example, the repellents, chemical repellents that we use at home, maybe mosquito repellents, these liquid like Good Night, All Out, or coils, or room fresheners for fragrance, or some cockroach or ant repellents, hit or some powders like similar to DDT, we get powders for ants, cockroaches, or recent painting work that has been done around the house. All these chemicals that get leached into the air can become very toxic to pets. Sometimes can cause vomiting, diarrhea, or even can lead to sometimes toxicity and liver issues, kidney issues. or sometimes just bring down their immunity so that they succumb to some infectious diseases. So these are some things we generally we think are safe to pets, but can sometimes become toxic. Other than that, hazardous things may be some physical aspects like if you have a very active puppy which is very active and wants to have everything in its mouth, like so maybe avoid keeping strings or needles or small ping pong balls and stuff like that. We have also had lot of stuff removed from the intestines because the puppy has swallowed it, like mango kernels and balls and a lot of stuff. So these things better to avoid keeping lying around in your house.
So you had to operate the puppy.
Yes, we had to. If it gets stuck in the intestine, so many of the times it gets passed in the stools, but sometimes unfortunately it gets lodged in the intestine, and then we have to do an X-ray, make sure it's a foreign body, and then operate it and remove it out.
I think that's why a lot of pet parents use turmeric powder instead of DDT or any other powder for ants.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. So there are many alternatives to these chemicals. So for ants, like you said, turmeric powder works very great, and you can use natural smoke either from a coconut shell or a arecanut shell to keep off the mosquitoes instead of the chemicals, and mosquito nets obviously for the windows and all those will work great. You can use neem oil or neem water to over the pet's body to keep off insects, flies and repellents. So these are some of the natural ways how you can keep off these, avoid these chemicals and save pets' health.
Do people avoid this field saying it's not lucrative?
So veterinary as a profession, I would say the primary thing is the satisfaction you get after treating pets. You know that you are one of the reasons why a dog or a cat is getting better, because especially any problem a dog or a cat or any animal faces is ultimately because of humans endeavor, human interaction. So the fact that you're at least contributing to decrease that discomfort is highly satisfactory at the end of the day. And of course, it is lucrative, especially in the recent days. So maybe at one stage it wasn't looked at as a lucrative profession, but that has changed a lot, especially in recent times after the lot of pet owners wanting to have more and more pets, and the industry has grown a lot. It has become much more lucrative and a very respectful job in the society. So there are more and more youngsters coming into the field as of now. So it's looking very promising field, I would say.
My dog supports your statement.
Thank you.
Milk and chocolate, poisonous foods, myth or fact?
So there are certain foods that we have to entirely avoid in dogs and cats, like chocolate being one. So there are some toxic foods, chocolate or raisins or coffee or avocados or any citrus fruits. Um so these can cause a lot of effects in the body, where it can mimic food poisoning. It's like vomiting, diarrhea, and all. So these are completely no. There are some foods that don't agree to a lot of pets, like say milk, because of lactose intolerance. So those type of food maybe we can avoid in those pets. As a blanket, if there are some pets with health issues like skin issues, as a blanket we tell them to avoid milk or dairy products altogether, especially curds also. These are some things pet parents generally don't know. They give a lot of curds thinking it's good, but it can cause a lot of issues like skin issues and other issues. So in that case, we tell them to avoid those type of food.
Someone had asked me a question to ask you, saying that she's watched Tom and Jerry. Those cartoons have milk all the time, but doctor advised her cat to not have it.
Yeah.
That's the reason I asked you this question.
So that's the reason. And I think it's also because of the processing that has gone through in the milk. that can cause it more allergic to pets and not easily very digestible. So if you have a source which is directly you're getting milk from a farm directly, probably your pet can digest it better. But in general, I would say if there is a digestive issue or a skin issue or any some health issue, then completely avoid milk altogether.
Do animals get periods?
Yes, it's different for different species. Like for example, for dogs, they get periods every twice a year. So around 5 to 6 months, they get their periods. So then they'll be bleeding from their private
At the
parts.
beginning of their life, in the fifth or the sixth month, you're saying, or
Yeah, so generally they start their first periods after 6 or 8 months. It can be anywhere up to 1.5 months they can get their first period. So when that happens, there might be bleeding from their private parts. Sometimes the bleeding can continue for 1 week or 2 weeks. This is specific for dogs. For cats, it's a little different. So they are called seasonally polyestrous. So that means when there is a heat season or a mm, season where they
mating?
get ready for mating and
Okay.
breeding, so they get periods maybe once a week or twice a week. Sorry, once a week or once in 2 weeks, and then there'll be a gap, and again in the next season they come into heat again. So they are called seasonally polyesters. Cows, in other hand, regularly in cycle every once in 3 weeks, once in 21 days regularly. So it's a different
Process for
process,
each.
different physiology for each species.
Can pets be veg?
In general, yes, they can, but again depends on the species. So cats are strictly carnivorous in the sense that they need animal protein source strictly. So if you are a vegetarian household, then try to at least you can incorporate commercial food which has a non-vegetarian protein. Uh, but dogs, in the other hand, can do well also with the vegetarian diet strictly, provided you give quality nutrients like quality protein and quality carbohydrates. Maybe you can add more of lentils and a variety of food like rice, dal, and if the pet digests, you can give dairy. And if you're okay with commercial food, you can add that once a day. Uh, so then you'll have a very good balanced meal. That way you can manage even if you are a vegetarian household.
I don't think my pug agrees with your statement. How much of fur shedding is normal and when?
So thing about fur shedding, many of the pet parents are very anxious when their pet starts shedding more and more. So twice a year they shed a lot in some seasons, especially before the summer and before the winter. So this is very normal to dogs and cats where they shed off the old fur and the new one fur comes. But how do you know whether it's normal or abnormal? So basically, if the pet doesn't have any bald patches or skin irritation or rashes or scratching, itching, so then that means that fur shedding is normal. So you just have to keep grooming and combing so that the excess hair that is going to fall off will come off. But if you see any skin issues, then better to consult a veterinarian and get it treated.
Some tips for bathing pets.
So bathing in pets, first of all, cats don't require baths. That's something every cat owner
Oh,
should know. They don't necessarily require baths unless they have some skin issues or very dirty. You can give a bath, not very frequently though, because they clean and lick themselves, groom themselves. So they are very clean that way. Whereas dogs, you can, if you want to give regular baths, you can give it once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks, depending on your pet's skin. Avoid giving very frequent baths because that washes off their natural oil in the skin. So they can get dry skin sometimes. So in general, once in 2 3 weeks. Only if they have skin issues, maybe if the veterinarian suggested, you can give once a week with a medicated shampoo or something. So this is in general about bathing. Avoid bath in very young puppies because they tend to catch fever or cold or some infections because of stress. So maybe after 3 months of age, you can give regular bathing and try to dry them off completely. after bath. So that is important.
Any specific danger with the head section while bathing the
Yeah,
dogs?
so that's a very good point. Don't splash water on their head and face. So that's one thing we should keep in mind.
Vaccinations.
Yes, vaccination is very important to keep infectious diseases away from your pet's health. So puppies, they can start their first vaccination at 1.5 months of age or later. So the first vaccine is a combined vaccine to prevent against infectious diseases, some viral infections and some leptospirosis and diseases like that. It's called DHPPIL. So there will be booster doses, 1 or 2 booster doses depending on what stage you have started the vaccine. And at 3 months of age, there is a vaccine called anti-rabies. It is to prevent against rabies from bites or scratches from other animals. Similarly, in cats also there is a viral vaccine, combined viral vaccine against 3 diseases, which we can start at 2 months of age, and again anti-rabies at 3 months of age. After this, puppyhood and kittenhood vaccinations are over. Every yearly once, annual vaccinations we have to keep giving.
You mentioned about cats and dogs, but I think people also have cows as pets and then monitor lizards and all of that. But I'm sure it all varies according to the species.
Yes, it varies according to species. So some cows there are vaccinations once in 6 months and once a year, depending on the locality you live in and what are the diseases around that area, like foot and mouth disease. And so there are vaccination drives that happen from KMF or government. So these things vary a lot according to species and species. Yeah.
Do you all get emotionally attached to pets?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Sanjeet. In fact, yeah, I used to get emotionally attached to the pets that I treat, and even I know that my friends also. But I think that comes naturally from empathy that we have for the pets, and you want the pets to do well, and you are anxious about that. But ultimately, it should not affect our decisions in the next cases that we see, because if a pet doesn't do well or if something unfortunate happens, then you should not keep blaming yourself, or you should not let it hinder your decisions in the next cases. So what I'm trying to do is try to involve myself completely during the treatment, whether it is physically or emotionally or intellectually. But the end results of that, I'm trying to detach myself from, so that uh, I don't become very affected with emotionally attached, or get affected with what the outcome is. So it's a journey that I'm trying to go through.
It's nice to have such an empathetic doctor for those who cannot speak for themselves.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Colors that animals can see.
Yeah. So dogs, we know that they can see some shades of yellow and blue. So how humans we perceive red, green, and blue and see the colors as combination of these colors. Same way, dogs can see shades of yellow and blue, and similarly some hues for cats also. So there's a myth that uh, pets are colorblind or they can only see gray or black and white, but that's not the case. We know that scientifically they can see some of these shades also.
That's news to me because I thought they're colorblind.
Oh, is it?
So this is a public question. Techniques to feed medication.
So it depends on the type of medicines we give. If you're feeding a syrup, I would underline this a lot, saying that we should never ever feed a syrup or a liquid directly into the throat. That's a very common mistake that a pet parent does. So whenever we do that, it can cause aspiratory pneumonia, in the sense when we push any liquid directly into the throat, it can go directly into the lungs and cause pneumonia or some infections. So that's a very serious thing that we can cause to a pet. So if you're feeding a liquid or a syrup or something, you can take the medicine in a syringe or a filler and gently, slowly push it into the side of the mouth on the tongue and let the pet swallow on its own. So that's a very important thing. If it's very difficult, if the pet is struggling a lot, spitting it out, you can try to mix it with some tasty food. Of course, there are some medications which you can't give it with food, and you can ask your veterinarians about those, whether we can give it with food. But most of the syrups are okay to give it with food. Tasty food, you can mix it and give. And any solid medication, say a pill or a powder or something, powder you can easily give it with food. Pill, many of the tablets you can powder it, mix it with food, unless the veterinarian says you should not. So if you are giving it directly, you can give it at the back of the tongue. So try to open the mouth, try to tilt the head up if possible. That allows you to open the mouth easily, and then just put it at the back of the tongue and try to close the mouth. So usually that helps, but of course there are some naughty animals which spit it out. So then you'll have to try with one more option is you can powder the medicines, mix it with some liquid item, say honey, or thick liquid item like honey or some wet food, and make a paste and apply into the mouth. So it becomes a jelly like or a thick substance they can't spit it out. Even if that is not possible, try with your treat or some tasty food, and all the best with that.
So my pug graduated from the National School of Drama because he acts like he swallowed the tablet, and once I move out, he'll spit it at lightning speed.
Yeah, we get 50 calls about these type of things.
Why do street dogs attack?
So there are multiple reasons for this. One is a very reactionary, instinctive reason why some dogs can tend to attack. One could be because of a trauma that they have gone through. You see them chasing bikes and they're chasing people with the sticks. That's a very reactionary stuff that happen. But there's also a deeper underlying reason for this, which is the population overdensity in the especially in the urban setups. So whenever there is lack of proper food, and suddenly they found a waste that is lying around, garbage, or so then what happens, there will be overpopulation density in that area of street dogs, then there will be natural competition. So these competition can lead to very reactionary behavior, especially prey behavior, or they tend to attack in a group. So these are the some of the reasons why stray dogs tend to attack humans. Very unfortunately, that tend to happen in a very sporadic incidents, but it is not something that we can ignore completely and say this is not an issue. So one mistake that we do when the attack happens is to either run or cover ourselves and try to sit down. So these things only trigger the dogs to attack more and more, especially if they're in a pack. So try to be as confident as possible and stand still, and try to be as tall as possible. Try to have something in your hands that you can show them. Never show that you are weak, because that is the trigger for them to attack more and more.
So, and what about eye contact?
So eye contact in general is supposed to be rude for dogs, and you're showing the aggression. So in this case, since you're showing the dominance, it's okay to have eye contact and show that you're the dominant person in there.
And some pets also simply act like they're attacking when you make eye contact.
Yeah.
Feeding stray animals.
Yeah, so this has been a very controversial uh, concept in recent times. So the way I look at it is, uh, feeding responsibly the stray dogs is beneficial. Not only beneficial, it is important to curb the issue of stray dogs. So the more and more you feed responsibly, the more and more you humanize the pets or the stray animals, so that they know that humans are okay to deal with. So I think the attacks also can decrease that way, and also it makes them more accessible to sterilization drives. So when you're coming in contact with the stray animals through feeding, they become friendly to you, and you can get them sterilized. And this is one great way of controlling the overpopulation and density problem of the stray animals. But underline the word responsibly. So how responsibly you can feed. So obviously you should clean up after you feed, and you should know what to feed the dogs, where to feed the dogs. So try to avoid feeding it very closer to uh, uh, people living nearby. Have a secluded place, constant place every day. And if you know that some people are not very supportive of your feeding, uh, try not to engage them in a very negative way, but you can go away from their place and try to your work, try doing your work anyway.
So, if human movement is close to their food, do they tend to attack?
They feel threatened, they do. So that I think happens more in feral dogs rather than if you're feeding them regularly, and
What's
they know.
feral? Feral
So
is
feral is a completely stray animal which
okay.
is not in contact with humans at all.
Okay.
But feeding is one of the ways how you can develop
Bond.
a bond and relationship with the stray animals. So they become more friendly with humans, and they know that these are okay species to interact
Makes
with.
them also accessible to healthcare and NGOs when we
Exactly.
need to.
More healthcare and more sterilization. This is how we can control their population rather than completely relocating them or something.
Isolating them, yes.
Yes, something as a institutionalized way, like how a government does. This is more of a, I think, grassroots level problem where, as a society, as people, we can make changes, and it will have a more long-lasting
I
impact.
think it's very applicable to humans too. When you isolate them, they tend to be more into criminal activities and all of that.
Yes, yes.
Even for addiction, they say the opposite of addiction is connection. So if you can get out of addiction by connecting with others, then I think it's a similar with dogs where aggression also can be rectified by connection.
Very true. Yes.
Do pets get diseases like cancer?
Yes. Many pet parents would be surprised to know that even pets go through diseases like cancers or diabetes or lifestyle issues or infectious diseases, very similar to humans. So, especially in older aged dogs and cats, they tend to get cancers, tumors on the skin, or sometimes blood cancers, bone cancers, very similar to humans.
So that's all for today's podcast. Great to have you.
Thank you, Sanjit. There were very lovely questions, and happy to be a part of this.